The village of Venzone, located in the Friuli-Venezia Giulia region of northern Italy, has become famous for its mummies, which have been preserved in unusually good condition due to the natural conditions. The Hypha bombacina fungus present in the soil prevented the decomposition of the bodies, which led to their natural mummification. The tradition of walking mummies originated in the 17th century and became part of the local culture. The villagers believed that mummies had special spiritual powers and used them in religious ceremonies, as well as to attract tourists. This custom was a peculiar way to honor the memory of the deceased, and at the same time demonstrated the uniqueness of the village. However, the 1976 earthquake caused significant damage to the region, including Venzone. Many of the mummies were destroyed, and the tradition gradually faded away. Today, the remaining mummies are kept in the crypt. The Sea Angel is truly impressive for its size and the skill of the crew, who were able to navigate such a large vessel through the narrow sections of the Chicago River. The vessel's length of 600 feet, about 183 meters, and width of 70 feet, about 22 meters, make it one of the largest vessels ever navigated this river. It is especially interesting that when passing under the bridge on Van Buren Street, the vessel had only 7 inches, 18 centimeters, of free space on each side. This requires not only precision in control, but also careful preparation, including calculating the water level, bridge height, and other parameters. This event became a landmark for shipping in Chicago and is still cited as an example of craftsmanship and engineering. The Chicago River, despite its relatively small size, played an important role in the region's transportation system, and the passage of such a large vessel underscores its importance. Lester's ventriloquist doll, accused of murdering 3 people, USA. During a performance in 1924, 3 elderly women died of laughter. When the police arrived at the scene, witnesses stated that the doll was talking on its own, and the lips of the great Lester remained motionless. The artist's guilt could not be proved, but his partner faced a more severe fate. A doll named Frank was taken to the police station. A case was opened against her, photographs were taken, and she was permanently banned from participating in performances. Pay attention to the date in the file, February 31st. There is no such day. This story was made up by Lester himself for promotional purposes. This incredible story happened 34 years ago. It's hard to believe, but it's true. On June 10, 1990, Tim Lancaster, the captain of the BAC-111 aircraft, was thrown out of the cockpit after the poorly fixed windshield was torn out at altitude. At the last moment, the flight attendant managed to grab the aircraft commander. The co-pilot managed to land the plane after 22 minutes. The passengers were not injured. Lancaster's rescue was considered a miracle. He was able to survive after a 22-minute flight on the fuselage of an airplane at a speed of 600 kilometers per hour and temperatures down to minus 17 degrees Celsius. In addition to frostbite, Lancaster was diagnosed with a fracture of his right arm, wrist, and finger on his left hand, as well as numerous bruises. After rehabilitation, he returned to flying 6 months later. The second and third images are a reconstruction of the incident from a National Geographic Channel documentary. The first photo shows Tim Lancaster and flight attendants Simon Rogers and Nigel Ogden. In March 1949, perhaps the most unusual match in the history of boxing took place. American boxer Gus Waldorf entered the ring against a live bear. Despite the sluggishness of the animal, Waldorf lost the fight. The bear knocked him out with a left hook. At first glance, it looked absurd. A boxer who was short even by the standards of a light heavyweight was put up against a huge and strong beast. However, it was precisely this disparity that caused an incredible stir. People wanted to see if man could withstand the unbridled force of nature. Soon the bear fights became a real sensation and swept the whole country. A common punishment for criminals in Mongolia that lasted until 1924. People were placed in a small box with a slit for the head and put on public display, while the convicts were starved. The woman in the photo was sentenced to a long and painful execution in this way for cheating on her husband. It was not just a public display of guilt, but a slow and sophisticated execution through starvation and humiliation. The box, which was often installed in the central square or other crowded place, turned the convict into an object of universal censure and ridicule. Isolation, deprivation of food and water, constant surveillance by the crowd, all this was part of the punishment designed to break a person both physically and mentally. Sergeant Stubby is the most famous fighting dog who participated in the First World War, received many awards, and was the only dog in history to be awarded the military rank of sergeant for his exploits on the battlefield. He visited the White House twice and subsequently met with Presidents Harding and Coolidge. Stubby was awarded many medals for heroism, including a medal from the Humane Society of the United States, which was presented to him by General John Pershing. He was awarded membership in the American Legion and the YMCA. Please remove cars from the territory. This is the Ghost Parking Lot, an art installation from 1978, created in the parking lot of a shopping mall. The parking lot owner agreed to the artist's suggestion only because these parking spaces were always empty. These pictures captured the very parking lot that maintained this appearance until 2003. An extremely unique picture taken by the Allied forces before taking out all this wealth. The photo shows at least 7,000 bags of gold and silver looted by the Germans during the war. All this was stored in the Merkers salt mine in Germany and was discovered on April 8, 1945. After the calculation, it turned out that there were 8,198 gold bars and 2.76 billion Reichsmarks in the mine. However, the fate of these treasures has remained unclear. 3,000 Chinese soldiers who were never seen again. Almost an entire division of Chinese soldiers disappeared without a trace during the Sino-Japanese War in 1937. Chinese General Li Fushi sent a 3,000-man division to stop the Japanese advance on Nanjing. However, the next morning, the orderly reported to the commander that not a single soldier remained in the positions. At the same time, no traces of a night battle were found, nor the bodies of the dead. Such a large number of soldiers simply could not have left their positions unnoticed without leaving any traces. After the war, the Chinese government initiated an investigation into this mysterious incident, but it never yielded results. Roy Cleveland Sullivan, an American inspector for the protection of a national park in Virginia, was nicknamed the Lightning Rod Man for his incredible ability to survive lightning strikes. Roy has worked as a park ranger since 1936. During his life, he was struck by lightning 7 times between 1942 and 1977. The effects of the blows were serious. He lost his eyebrows, suffered burns and temporary paralysis of various parts of his body, and his hair caught fire several times. After 1972, he always carried a container of water with him in case of fire. Interesting fact, the last time lightning struck him, he just wanted to go fishing. In later years, people began to avoid him for fear of being struck by lightning along with him, which made Roy very sad. He died in 1983 at the age of 71 under mysterious circumstances unrelated to lightning. Mechanical secrets of the gorilla in the movie King Kong. Have you ever wondered how Hollywood makeup artists turned actors into terrifyingly realistic gorillas for the breathtaking shots you saw on the screen. These rare photographs give an idea of how film mania was created in the 1930s. Engineers developed a special mechanism, a set of facial bones and muscles that acted as a skeleton. This mechanism was worn by the actors to achieve the most plausible animation of the gorilla's face and movements.